Google's latest A series device was already a little confusing given the rest of the lineup, but what happens when you throw OnePlus's mid-range answer into the mix? Here's why you need to consider the OnePlus 12R, because flagships aren't the only devices this thing can kill. Let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and if you're looking for the best mid-ranged Android smartphone right now, these two are your best bets. Google's Pixel 8a is a more compact device that focuses on its AI smarts and software, where OnePlus's approach with its larger 12R leans into performance, build quality, and battery life. While they may share similar price tags, they aren't squarely aimed at the same type of Android user. This is obvious the first time you pick these two devices up. While the Pixel 8a dons some substantial bezels, a scratchy plastic back, and a streamlined, subtle camera bar, the OnePlus 12R's build feels considerably higher end, with a glass back, super thin bezels with curved screen sides, and a larger, more prominent camera hub that protrudes further out the back of the device. To put it bluntly, the 12R just feels more expensive and higher end than the Pixel 8a. Now, as cool as those curved sides are, they are a little impractical, and I've had my fair share of phantom touches with not only the 12R but also the regular 12, and for that reason, I love the fact that Google went for a flat display with the 8a. Thick and uneven bezels aside, it is the easier panel to operate due to its more reachable size and lack of curves. Both phones on paper rock Full HD Plus 120Hz OLED displays, so are sharp, fast, bright, and when you hold them side by side, you quickly realise that the 12R's panel is the far superior one, with better off-axis viewing angles, higher real-world peak brightness, and being bigger makes it better for playing games and watching films. It's great that Google upgraded the A's display from 90Hz to 120, as it's something you can certainly feel, but it's just not quite at the level of the OnePlus, which is able to hit 120 FPS more frequently to make full use of the 120Hz display, because it employs the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, a much more powerful processor from both a CPU and GPU standpoint. Both phones are zippy in and around the OS, browsing social media, all the basics, that kind of thing. And while the 8A isn't particularly bad when it comes to 3D gaming, it can play games for sure, but it's just not at the level of the OnePlus. If you're a big mobile gamer, I'd take the 12R for its far smoother gameplay experience, and I quite like the game modes on Oxygen OS with its Hyper Boost mode that drops background apps and Discord integration right in the game that you're playing. This better performance hardware setup makes the 12R the faster device now, but also going forward, which is an area that gets kind of tricky for OnePlus at the same time, because its 3 years of promised platform upgrades and a further year of security patches is a fraction of the Pixel 8a's 7 years of upgrades and patches. Whether this kind of thing matters to you is heavily going to depend on your personal preference for upgrade cadence. Are you the sort of person to trade in your device every 2 or 3 years? If so, no worries, you can go with either phone and be absolutely fine. But if you keep your phone longer, the Pixel 8a is a no-brainer. Where it matters more is actually in the second-hand market, because that means that in 3 or 4 years' time, when someone sells their old Pixel 8a on eBay, it'll still get another 3 or 4 years of upgrades for the next user, which keeps the thing out of landfill, or at least delays the inevitable. And the software itself is more feature-rich on the Pixel side of things. If you're the kind of person to really engage with and use all the features on the spec sheet, the 8a's AI features are brilliant. The voice recognition and transcription is usable and reliable. Magic Eraser and Audio Eraser come in clutch too, not to mention the ability to change the sky in photos, and of course Top Shot for getting just the right selfie. These features are pretty great when they work, and sure, it's not 100% hit rate, but it's early doors for this kind of thing, and it works surprisingly well on the 8A. The OnePlus 12R not having these things officially could put some people off, and I know you can sideload these things, but the average person isn't going to want to go through the hassle of doing that. It's safe to say that Google has leaned super hard into its software and kind of let the hardware side just pass. Now, this software can't really speed up a phone or increase its battery life substantially to beyond the hardware's limits, but we all know that it can massively impact a phone's camera performance. And if we take a look at these things on paper for just a second, you'll realise that these two phones aren't that far apart when it comes to their hardware tech. And in the real world, the 8A has that signature Pixel look to it. When it comes to the colours, the contrast, there's more punch and an almost crisper looking profile. By comparison, the 12R's photos tend to look a little more washed out, with lifted shadows, which sure give you a little more detail in those shadows, but it also contributes to images that in my opinion just aren't as fun to look at. These aren't bad photos at all, but they aren't the level of the Pixel 8A. And more often than not, the Pixel took photos that were more true to life and more what I saw with my own eyes when shooting. The 12R not sharing the Hasselblad processing with the full-fat 12 means it can't compete with the more natural 8A. I found the same to be true in terms of computational photography, where the Pixel did portrait mode and night sight better overall with more accurate images across the board. Side note though, I do actually prefer the less processed look of the OnePlus's night mode. It's not as technically impressive, but the toned down approach to lifting shadows does actually make its images look a little nicer to me. But that's personal preference. When it comes to video, these phones both have their compromises. With their main cameras, they can both shoot Ultra HD 4K at up to 60 FPS, which is great, whereas the ultra-wide cameras can only shoot up to Ultra HD 30 on the Pixel 8A and actually Full HD 30 on the 12R. I found the Pixel 8A to record the more stable video as a whole, and the 12R's footage can look a little jarring, so the Pixel 8A just does video better. And I think as a whole, the Pixel 8A does cameras better. Don't get me wrong, the 12R's cameras are pretty good. For the price point, they're absolutely fine. But the 8A's cameras are better from a quality standpoint, from an aesthetic standpoint in my opinion, and also come with the far more feature-rich toolkit for augmenting your media after the fact. And if you're worried about battery life, I'll just say this, skip the Pixel 8A and just go straight for the 12R. The former's pretty much 4500 mAh battery, is a whole 1000 mAh smaller than the OnePlus 12R's, and the charging is substantially slower too. Not to mention, there's no charger in the box with the 8A, where you get an 80 watt or 100 watt brick with the 12R depending on your region. Look, the Pixel 8A's battery life isn't bad. It's an all-day phone for me with absolutely no bother. But the 12R's battery can last me 2 days with little worry. And that combined with the rapid charging is reason enough for me to consider the 12R over the Pixel 8A. But when it comes down to it, these phones are made for entirely different mid-range smartphone customers. One offers you all the smarts, the future support at the cost of build quality and performance, and the other goes all out on speed, longevity and build quality at the expense of software features. If it's me, I'm taking the 12R. The cameras aren't as good as the 8A, but the hardware is just that much better that it's a no-brainer for me. I do want to hear what you have to think about these though, because I can certainly see why one might pick one over the other. It really is a toss-up. While you're down there, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.